Most of you at this point already know what's wrong with the van. That's a pretty classic sound of a failed CV shaft. So for those of you who don't, that's what they sound like. Now this one's pretty extreme, and they will typically make that noise if you have a CV shaft failing when you're turning and accelerating, usually on a hard surface. We got this one to do it actually on the snow. This one's really bad. If you cramp the wheel off and give it full beans, it makes a lot of noise, probably on the verge of breaking. Should have came in sooner for this. But I just wanted to show you that example in case you have that clicking, crunching noise in the front of your vehicle and like, what the heck is that? You know, it makes that noise when I accelerate. It can often be accompanied with a pretty severe vibration when you take off, you know, perhaps in a straight line where you might not get the noise, but you'll have a lot of what I always call the torque wobble. And it's kind of like if you envision a dog wagging its butt, you know, you get that little wobble like that. And often that's what these will feel like too. You go to take off and it feels like the whole front of the van just kind of shimmies, you know, more side to side than, you know, like a tire balance shimmy. So I guess that's it. Not much diagnosing needed here. We're going to throw the van up in the air. I drove it yesterday to listen to the lady's noise, and I ordered a CV shaft. So hopefully I'm right. I ordered one right from Honda. It should be here shortly. So let's get it up in the air and have a look. I suspect we're probably going to see the boot is physically broken and the grease is leaked out. You know, now the joint itself is bad. All right, so here we are. That's our CV shaft, and we can see, or hopefully you can see, I'm surprised the boot's not ripped right clean off it, but it obviously has a leak somewhere in here. It's got some kind of fracture that are spewing out all the grease. You can see the collection of it there on the brake caliper and all over the strut. Been a little bit over time. We can see the inside joint there is still intact. Now that's typically not a noisemaker, not that it's exempt from making noise. However, your outside joint, you know, has a lot more mobility, obviously from turning. This is usually the noisemaker. There's not a whole lot more diagnosing we can do. You know, we'll just check, make sure the wheel bearing's good, which, you know, unlikely has any play in it, but I'll double check that. But based on symptoms and sound, we're gonna make the call on the CV shaft. The bad news is Honda boned me on my parts. The delivery guy was just here, who delivers all of our parts from the dealerships, and he had GM parts, no Honda parts. It's no big deal to you, but now I've got to wait another couple hours to get parts. I'm gonna leave it here, let it drip. We'll change out the CV axle, take it for another drive, and perhaps we can rip the boot off that outer one and have a look at that joint in case you guys have never seen inside of a CV joint. And no, for all you haters, I did not rip the boot. That's the part number we used on this bad boy. It's a 2012 Honda Odyssey. I think we already mentioned that, but that was like 4 hours ago. They screwed up my Honda order today. And oddly enough, the Honda boxes don't smell like reefer. All the aftermarkets smell like the ganja. These don't, however, they come in a green bag, so I don't know what that means. But why don't we have a look at the CV shaft? It clearly has a leak, has leaked out all of its grease. Something has gone awry, causing it to click and clack when we make corners. However, when you spin these on a lift, like if you were to pick up your vehicle and rotate it, likely wouldn't hear anything from it, which you don't. I mean, I've seen these things just about ready to grenade, and you know, they don't make any noise on the lift. They have to be run under a load and often, you know, turned. They usually don't make noise in a straight line. So let's go at this thing all savage and see what we see. I'm gonna have to get, I lost my knife. Now if you see that your CV boot is leaking, you can reboot it, just like a Windows computer, only different, and save the joint. However, aftermarket CV axles are pretty inexpensive now. Not a huge fan of them. I will install them. If given a choice, I'll install them OEM. That way I don't have to worry about any problems. Well, I'm kind of shocked. There's still quite a bit of grease up in this joint. Get it? Their boots are kind of hard and plasticky. But I am really surprised to see the amount of grease that's still in there. Shocking. I thought it would be completely empty. The majority of it, it's still pretty gritty. Or not gritty, but greasy. I guess that's quite a big difference between gritty and greasy. I wonder what was making all the racket then. Because when you feel it, it feels, you know, a tiny bit of play, but they all do. Well, it sure was making an awful lot of clicking. Oh boy, I hope we're right. I know we're right. What else can make that noise, you know? Interesting. Off she comes. So that's how you get this style off. Now, not all style outer joints come off like that. Some have snap rings. And of course, don't use, you know, an old chisel. This thing's going directly into the garbage. But I just thought we could have a gander. A little bit closer. Maybe go clean it up in the parts washer just to have a look. This is very interesting. I was expecting to see some more carnage. I'm a little bit let down. Clean some of the grease out of it. Let's see if we can't tear it apart. Have to have a good look. Taking me a little bit of a pisser to get them just right to start getting the balls to come out of them here. Gotta get the inner race up at the same time. Should probably go grab a different tool here. That one should be loose. Oh no. Whoa, hang on. We're getting close, fellas. Ta-da! It's like one of those mind games. How do you come out of there? Another one of life's mysteries. And the mystery has been solved. Once we got it disassembled, now I would have showed you the procedure, but I'm sworn to secrecy by the mechanics union. But there you go. Look at that bearing race. Pitted to pieces, baby. Normal wear and tear or lack of grease, we may never know. Poor metallurgy, perhaps, but it appears to have affected every single one of them. And you can see some pretty heavy pitting on there. Now, I don't know if we can see it on the ball bearings. Usually the bearings will also start to gull like that. Check, 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 check. Nothing there, which I'm surprised. Usually the balls in the ball bearing will start to get beat up too. Go to the other bearing race. Hopefully that's focusing for you guys. But there's also, is that some damage there? That is some damage there. So what do you think about that? Pretty interesting to see the damage. You know, to see where these bearing faces are getting whipped. I don't know the technical metal term for it. However, when bearings get noisy in your car, like wheel bearings that start to hum, you tear them apart, you see the same type of pitting on the bearing races. However, like I say, this one did not seem to affect the bearings balls. They're in good shape. And I don't see any damage and anything else other than just the bearing surfaces. And that, ladies and gents, is a look inside of a CV shaft. Now there's all different kinds of styles. This one here uses the balls and inner and outer race and the little cage that holds them together. Now some of them actually have just 3 ball bearings in there. Like I say, all different sorts of styles. They all come apart just a little bit different. This kind here had the snap ring on the end of the shaft, and then typically if you were just rebooting it, you would use, you know, a brass punch, knock it off, clean it out. Typically you do not disassemble them to the point in which we did, so we could just have a look. I just thought you guys might be curious to see, because a lot of people wonder, you know, what makes all that clicking noise, including myself. And at a glance, you know, if you just took it off, stuck it in the parts washer, you know, it looks pretty good. I suppose if we were to just tip it one way or the other, yeah, I guess you can see the pits. They are down towards the bottom. But you really have to be looking. But if you guys probably can't, you probably don't have enough light, but you can see them way down in there. Certainly taking it apart, we're able to see them up close. I was kind of shocked to see as much grease in there as there was. And they are kind of fun to take apart. And just so you know, because I know you guys might get upset. So to get the inner cage out, when you rotate it, 2 of the slots are bigger, they're elongated. more so than the other slots. If you rotate it sideways and line them up with the two, malins that stick in, then it will pop right out. And, same thing for the inner race. You get it just right, line it up and slide it out. So I'm just trying to be all trick on you. Whatever, that's going into trash. We put in an OEM, there's no core charge on it. Brand new. They're about 2 to 3 times the cost of a remanufactured one. However, I don't have to, worry about it wobbling and not fitting. This van had a couple different options on the inner spline, whether it was a 29 spline or a 30 spline. Supposedly that was the difference between the EX and the EXL. I wasn't going to take my chances. I suppose we could have ordered both, but like I say, I've had multiple issues with aftermarket CV shafts. I'll leave it at that. Use your own, to your own discretion, I guess. Some OE manufacturers do have a remanufacturer that remans theirs, or at least puts them in their box, whether they're actual Honda parts remand, I don't know. I have used some Chrysler OEM reman ones. I'm tending to think they may be done by a local remanufacturer like, Cardone or whoever remans CV shafts, Fenco, whoever it is, because they're just about the same price as the ones at the parts store. So I can't imagine they have any special treatment, still sell them about the same cost. Anyhow, questions, comments, criticisms, concerns in the comment box below. While you're down there, click that subscribe button, click the notification bell, find us on our socials and on Patreon. And just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.